Coca-Cola, inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Visit energy.gov.ky or follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram. And by the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Visit gov.ky/steps to learn more.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Canaan Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees so fair. Today is Wednesday, the 3rd day of May 2023, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We hope and we trust everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you on the roads of the Cayman Islands, we urge you to please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Remember, the life you save may be your own. I'm going to shorten my monologue this morning because we have a very tight schedule. But to remind you that this segment of the For the Record, the birthday shout-outs, proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center. Make the right decision for your family's future today is his advice to you. Also, More Than Words, your gateway to local books and more. Connect to your culture, tap into your roots. More Than Words, located on the 2nd floor of the Thompson Building. If you do know someone who has celebrated a birthday or is celebrating one, we urge you to please send us your comments. You can email those to fortherecord@candw.ky, or you can WhatsApp us 925-3261. We will continue to announce those during the course of the show this morning, but like I said, we have a tight schedule. We're accommodating represent the Ministry, Customs and Border Control. We're going to be talking about the recent press release and decision made by government in relation to importation of vehicles. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Chief Officer in the Ministry, Mr. Wesley Howell, and to let you know that we will also be joined by Minister Dwayne Seymour during this segment of the show as well. So without any further ado, Mr. Howell, good morning, sir. Welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C., and good morning to your listeners. Thank you for having me this morning.
Okay, so on Monday, we had the Premier in the studio with us, and he spoke about the decision, and then around about 10:30, before 10:30, 10:22, press release was issued, and it was headlined, Ministry of Border Control and Labor, new vehicle importation restrictions introduced. So that's what we will be talking about this morning, and the mic is over to you, sir.
Absolutely, sir. So
okay.
I'll start by clarifying the position. So the position is a decision taken by Cabinet on the 25th of April. So that was prior to the Parliament meeting. But the decision was to come into effect on the 1st of May. No advance warning was given, simply because of the fact that the types of vehicles that fall within the categories that are being restricted now are so cheap that if we gave even a week or so notice, folks would be able to purchase lots of those vehicles and nullify the effect of the order for some time. As it now stands, particularly from those vehicles coming in from the Far East, the lead time on those vehicles arriving on island is anywhere from sort of 2, 3 to up to 6 months, depending on the congestions, particularly coming out of the port of Kingston. To here, because the capacity is constrained in that area. So the order applies to motor vehicles, pickup trucks, 8 years and older. There's some exclusions for that: specialist equipment, heavy equipment, agricultural equipment, road construction equipment, and so some of those were actually subject to some special procedures even before this order, and those still remain.
Okay.
So in order to import those types of vehicles, you first have to apply for a permit to do that, and that comes from DVDL, and they go through a check to ensure that you have a trade and business license to operate the vehicles, and you have an acceptable place to park them, so you're not parking them on the sides of streets and whatnot. So that still exists, and the recommendation is that you apply for that permit before you purchase. Typically what happens is that people that don't know will purchase and import, and then the goods get stuck and not be able to be cleared through CBC until that process is done. And if they don't have a trade and business license, then they need to complete all that process before they get it. They end up paying storage fees and the like at that point in time. So that's the outside ambit of what it's seeking to do. The Premier, I think, did share some information that over the last 3 years we've seen almost a reversal in the age of cars that are being bought in the 5 to 10 were the highest a few years back, and now that switched to 10 and higher. And from a comparison perspective, Cayman is about the middle of the pack now for the Caribbean countries that have some sort of restriction on the age and in some cases the mileage of vehicles. So I can quickly run through those. Trinidad is 3 years or newer, so prohibited would be 4 years and higher. Barbados is 4 years or newer and less than 50,000 kilometers. The Dominican Republic is 5 years or newer. Jamaica, our closest neighbor, is 6 years or newer. Cayman now is 7 years or newer to be imported. 8 years and older would be prohibited. Suriname, 8 years or newer. Turks and Caicos, 9 years or newer. Bahamas, 10 years or newer. Nicaragua, 10 years or newer. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 12, and Haiti, 20. So we're about mid-pack, where the tightest that I could find is Trinidad at 3 years. And the source of that information actually comes from one of the Japanese exporter websites. So you tell it which country you're shipping to, and it tells you what the restrictions are for that particular country. So they are adjusting that. The issue in relation to that age group of cars is that they have a much shorter lifespan. They have a much shorter purchase cost. In some cases, the cost of the car is the least when you pay the shipping and customs duties, as well as the environmental fee. That sometimes exceeds the cost of the car. And that contributes to cars being auctioned in Cayman, because persons can afford to ship them here, but when they realize that they have to pay a $1,500 environmental fee and other things, that exceeds the cost of the car that they paid for. So they end up leaving it at the port, and then we end up auctioning those. That leads to some significant numbers in vehicles that are left on the side of the road, that are derelict, left in yards. So I reached out to my good friends over at DEH, and they were great. They were happy to share some information with me. And over the last, so 2017 to 2023, they have seen, so that's 5 years, 3,500 cars that they've tagged as derelict. The maximum, the highest number was in 2020 when it was 754, and the next peak was 2022 was 737. And I'll
so that's almost 1,000, average 1,003 per year.
Absolutely. Wow. And I hasten to add that these are the vehicles that are within visible sight. They're vehicles parked in backyards and garages and other places that aren't counted in this number. These are ones that they tagged because there was some place where they could see them. People were complaining, they were impeding traffic, and other things like that. So I can only imagine what that number would be if you're taking into consideration, that disposable car range. So what we find ourselves in is countries whose vehicle licensing regime discourages people keeping older cars longer.
Right.
Japan is the biggest exporter, and they have some very strict graduating fees. The older the car, the more you pay for fees to keep it on the road. So there's an incentive for them to export the cars. They're less fuel efficient, so they add to pollution. They're less reliable because they're older. Some of them very high mileage. Those are the cheaper ones that you can buy. So they are more. We're importing vehicles that would then end up not only contributing to traffic, but also contributing to our recycling efforts. And for those that aren't recycled, they just go and affect our environment because they break down in backyards and mile roads and those sorts of things. So that's where we are in relation to those bits. So I can share from a table of years perspective as it stands now. So a 2023 model car is 0 years old. So we're doing it like we do with babies. When they're born, they're 0.
Right.
They're one at their first birthday.
Yes.
So with that in mind, 2023 to 2016 would be cars that would be allowed to be imported. 2015 to 1992 would be vehicles that would be restricted. And then 1993 onwards would be 30-year vehicles, which would then fall into the classic vintage collectible cars that would be able to be imported. So I had a huge laugh in the office the other day, although I'm not making light of how serious these are. But given my age away, for me, I am thinking a classic car is a 1969, 1970 type car, right? I still want my 1969 Mustang. That's one of my dream collectible cars. But a 1993 car is now 30 years old. So for me, it was a bit of a, you're getting older. but that would take into consideration those bits. And then the other types of vehicles, like I said, are exempt from this and would then go through their existing process with DVDL and the Ministry of Planning and Infrastructure.
From importation standpoint, we know that people will try to gain the system. What are some of the things that people would be expected to produce to you, for instance, to demonstrate that the vehicle was ordered and paid for within a given period of time, so they would have because on one end they could convince an exporter to say, well, this is the date. So you would probably want to have some paper trail to follow, for instance, fund transfer dates and things of that nature. We're going to take a commercial break. If you could talk a little bit about that. And I do realize that you are not the politician here this morning, but people are questioning this decision in relation to, how much it is likely to impact the importation of vehicles, just simply the year. But we do know that when we first started to import vehicles from Japan and Taiwan, we call them deportees, and people were frowned at when they bought a deportee, and then all of a sudden it started to become trendy as well. So if we could touch on those two areas as well, that would be fine. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
Captain Thomas William Farrington, CBE, JP, 1900 through 1978. Captain Willie was the first Caymanian to be made a commander of the British Empire. He was also one of the first people elected to the Executive Council after the country's first constitution in 1959. He represented West Bay in the Assembly continuously for 55 years, a record unsurpassed by any politician in the Cayman Islands history. In the late 1940s, Captain Willie was sent by the Presbyterian Church to Jamaica to persuade the Synod Council to support the establishment of a high school in Cayman. That high school is now John Gray High School. Once his father retired, Captain Willie took over the family merchandise and shipping business. For more than 10 years after World War II, he provided the only regular freight service between Grand Cayman and Tampa. He was the founder of Cayman International Airways and served for many years on the Cayman Islands Cooperation and the Air Transport Licensing Authority. He was a Justice of the Peace, law agent, notary public, church elder, Sunday school teacher, and civic leader. He married Myrtle Ebanks in 1924, and the couple raised 4 children.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Are you feeling sick, but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone, and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
More Than Words, your gateway to local books and more. Connect to your culture. Tap into your roots. More Than Words bookstore in the Thompson Building. Supplies local books, gifts, trinkets, keepsakes, wall plaques, and journals. The hub for local authors. More Than Words. So much more. More Than Words is now open. Shop number 4, 2nd floor, Thompson Building. Or call 936-5544.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
They say you only live once. I say you only die once, but you live every day. I'm Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, longtime supporter of Radio Cayman. Live your life, my friends. Happiness is in the journey, not the destination. When you're ready, I'm here to support you with the best financial decisions for your family's future. Cayman Insurance Center, protecting you and your family so you can take back your future. I'm Michael Webster, the sure way to protect your family. Call me when you're ready at 925-5433. Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets.
Think life insurance.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-34-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning the Chief Officer in the Ministry of Border Control and Labor, Mr. Wesley Howell. We're talking about the new vehicle importation restrictions that were introduced and came into effect on the first Monday, the 1st of May of this year as well. We're trying to link up with Minister Seymour. Ms. Susan, do we have Minister Seymour on the line? Okay, we're going to link up with Minister Seymour. Minister Seymour, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Sorry you're stuck in traffic.
Yeah, morning. No, what a thing. Morning. Thank you for having us. The Chief Officer, Wesley Howell, is doing a magnificent job. But I want to say that if I can say a few words.
Sure, go right ahead.
That the caucus didn't take this lightly. In fact, the paper in itself, we went back to the ministry about 5 times for corrections because they wanted to ensure that the regular common man wasn't being impacted. And one of the things that we looked at when we considered the 7-year was the data that had been provided to us as to what was the age of cars being imported. And when we looked at the data in most months, between 5 to 10 years were the sweet spot for vehicles being imported in the island. So we thought we'd find a medium of 7 years to try to ensure that the impact was lessened.
Okay. Hello, Minister, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here. And one of the things that, whatever you do, not everyone's going to like everything 100%.
So true.
And but we're also here to protect the investment of Caymanians. And when we have vehicles, as said earlier, breaking down after 1 year of purchase, and then Caymanians have to find money again to send off to bring another car in, which they'll be out of a car for about 4 months again. Mm-hmm. This is one way that we can also protect the investment of Caymanians. And a 7-year-old car is not a new car, but we thought that 7 years was a sweet spot, especially with the neighboring countries in terms of what they had. Mm-hmm. So Cayman has become a dumping ground now because many other countries won't accept what Japan is able to ship out.
Got you.
Well, the beautiful thing about it is, as I said earlier, is that we ensured that none of the cars that had been ordered previously to the order would be prohibited from coming on the island, and all those would be grandfathered in.
Right.
Yeah, but I can tell you a real situation of a person that I know too well. Bought a car last year from Japan and has a problem with the spark plugs. So the mechanic told her that they can't find any spark plugs on the island. So as you know, the old way, you get a piece of sandpaper and you start filing down the spark plugs, and then the spark plug works again. Mm-hmm. But she has done that a couple times now, and the mechanic told her there's no more space for filing down. And so she says she need to park the car on the side of the road and buy a new car. Imagine just for spark plugs.
Wow.
So there's a problem with parts with these vehicles. And, we're definitely trying our best to protect the investment of Caymanians. And some won't see it that way because people have ideas that they want to bring in cars for rental cars and so forth. But, I mean, just think about what we're doing to our environment in terms of pollution and everything else. And, you know, these are some of the things that we're trying to avoid in these short lifespan cars, is what we would call them. You know, some of these cars, we'll see, as I'm told, is that they don't pass the emissions in Japan, so then they ship them out to Cayman as one of the favorite areas that they're being sent to now. So these cars also, if noted, when accidents happen on the road, these cars, you know, the police want to know why these cars are almost like paper. Because of the suspensions and everything else, there's nothing there.
Yeah, yeah. Minister, when in taking the decision, was Cabinet aware of the fact that the majority of persons who voice their opinion about the importation of vehicles actually want the government to take a much tougher stance as it relates to the importation of vehicles, including who can import them as well? Because many have said that, you know, this is a step in the right direction, but a very small step in the right direction.
Well, very aware, and we're all in concert with what you're explaining there in terms of, I mean, we all know it seems like the transit workers are the persons who are the majority of persons that shipping these cars in. Personally, I don't believe that everyone that steps on the shore should own a car. So we have a lot of things to do. That leads then to proper public transportation. It leads then to trying to encourage staggered shifts, carpooling, and other things of that nature. But we're well aware that this falls short. But in our ministry, this is about what we can do in terms of imports. So other ministries are also working on other efforts to try to curb this situation, because we have a major problem. I'm stuck in traffic now, and that's the reason why, because we're importing 500 cars a month, and then we keep getting stuck in traffic. It appears they're being shipped about town.
Oh, it sounds like the port may be already up there in breakers.
I hear you.
Minister, I want to thank you very much. We hope that we can work something out, that you can spend some time in the studio. We have to go to our 8 o'clock news, but hopefully we can work something out as well. Folks, top of the hour, 8 o'clock news. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Foster's is 8 o'clock.
At Foster's, we have over 70 big deals to help you save more on your groceries.
Just like St. Ives Facial Scrub, 6 ounce, just $4.39, save $2.20. Or locally made boxed meals, 10 ounce, selected varieties, only $8.49, save $2.
And you'll also find a Checo pasta sauce, 400 gram varieties, $3.59, save $1. Head in store for more great specials or shop online with Foster's Go. Foster's, better prices because we care.
Price is good until May 3rd, 2023.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
The Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency launches its public consultation period for the draft climate change policy, which will run 2023 through 2040. Here's Radio Cayman's Shana Gallego.
Premier and Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency, the Honourable Wayne Panton, notes Cayman has now come closer than ever before to having a national climate change policy in place. The draft Climate Change Policy 2023 to 2040 aims to protect and help our people now and in the future by building resiliency into all sectors of our society and economy while safeguarding important ecosystem services. The Premier says public participation is an essential element of inclusive, equitable policy development and encourages everyone to review the draft policy, attend the planned public meetings, and provide feedback. The draft policy focuses on strategies to urgently reduce further contributions to climate change, mitigation, and respond to the inevitable impacts of a changing climate, adaptation to ensure a low or zero carbon, climate resilient future for the Cayman Islands. During the consultation period, public meetings will be held in all Cayman Islands districts, including the sister islands. In addition to the district meetings, the public consultation period will also include focus group meetings with stakeholders in key areas, including financial services, insurance, real estate, and development. Shanda Gallego, Radio Cayman News.
For updates on the public consultation process, you can head to gov.ky. Feedback can be submitted to climate@gov.ky. The deadline is June 30th. The Ministry of Education and the Department of Education Services have released the Education Data Report for the 2021-22 academic year. Here's Radio Cayman's April Cummings.
Education officials say the 2021-2022 report captures and analyzes critical data on the performance of Year 6, Year 11, and Year 12 students in public schools. Acting Chief Officer for the Ministry of Education, Ms. Lynette Monteith, says it depicts overall trends similar to those observed in the preceding academic year, with improvements in some areas. According to a statement released last night, more than half of the Year 6 cohort were either at or exceeded the expected level in grammar, punctuation, and spelling, based on results of the Key Stage 2 standard assessment tests administered in May 2022. In addition, 46% of the students demonstrated proficiency in writing, while 42% were either at or exceeded the expected level in math or reading. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
For more information on the academic report, you can head to gov.ky. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Moira Alderson. 8 children and a security guard have been killed in a shooting by a pupil at his elementary school in the Serbian capital, Belgrade. The Interior Ministry said another 6 children and a teacher were wounded. Police across Europe have been carrying out what's been described as one of the largest ever anti-mafia operations. Dozens of people have been arrested in raids that targeted the Calabrian organised crime syndicate 'Ndrangheta and its worldwide drug smuggling networks. The United Nations humanitarian chief Martin Griffith is in Sudan to discuss aid deliveries amid continued fighting between rival military factions. The UN Secretary-General, Antonio Guterres, is in Kenya to add impetus to the humanitarian effort. Myanmar's military government has released more than 2,000 political prisoners. Crowds of relatives were seen gathering outside the large prison complex in the city of Yangon, hoping to spot their loved ones. The authorities in Rwanda say more than 100 people have died in flooding and landslides caused by torrential rainfall in the west and north of the country. The downpours caused the Sebeya River to overflow. A Belarusian opposition activist who was forced off a flight in 2021 has been jailed for 8 years. Roman Protasevich was found guilty of a series of alleged crimes, including organising mass riots. The US Navy says that Iranian forces have seized an oil tanker in the second such incident in the past week. The Fifth Fleet says that members of Iran's Revolutionary Guards swarmed the Panama-flagged vessel as it was sailing from Dubai towards Fujairah. That's the latest world news from the BBC.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com. Are you tired of waiting in long lines at the pharmacy just to fill a prescription?
If what, child, let me tell you.
Well, now you can save time and money with ValueMed's online prescription service. Visit ValueMed's new website, valrx.com, and click the Refill Subscriptions button. Fill in your information online and choose your preferred pickup location. Or email your prescription refills for ValueMed Walkers Road at rx-wr@valrx.com, and for ValueMed in Bodentown, email rx-bt@valrx.com. Say goodbye to the hassle of waiting in lines and hello to the convenience of online prescriptions with ValueMed Pharmacy. Visit valrx.com to place your orders today.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store, or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Hello, good people. This is Uncle Selvin. Long time you not hear from me. When I was growing up around here, if you was not feeling too good, there's nothing in a dip in the sea couldn't clear up. Or better yet, your mama would fix you some good bush tea. Mind you, they still works. But the truth be told, those were simpler times when advice about your health and wellness was pretty straightforward. And you trusted it. Today, around here for trusted advice, the folks at Healthcare Pharmacy is the ones I trust. Their team of healthcare professionals and pharmacists have been serving this community now for over 30 years. Healthcare Pharmacy with 2 locations, Grand Harbor and Governor Square. You can reach them wherever you is.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
That's a good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 82 degrees. Relative humidity is 80%. The barometric pressure is 29.88 inches and falling. The wind is out of the east at 4 knots. Overnight low temperature was 79 degrees. Synopsis indicate light winds and seas expected over the Cayman area for the next 24 hours, associated with a weak pressure gradient. Satellite images show mainly high-level clouds over the Western Caribbean, with a few low-level clouds across the Cayman area. Now, the forecast for today calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, and temperatures will be in the mid-80s today. Winds will be east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Tonight, fair to partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures falling to the mid-70s tonight. Winds will be east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Low tide will be this afternoon at 12 minutes after 2. High tide tonight at 8:52. The sun will set this evening at 6:47 and will rise tomorrow morning at 5:56. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Friday morning.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. If you're going to invest in an exotic pet, choose anything but a Norwegian forest cat. Apparently, they will eat all your jewelry. Before you know it, you're racing to the vet when your cat escapes from his carrier and lunges for your earrings. You crash and your cat swallows your pearls. But if you're smart, you'll have CG Motor Insurance and get the best comprehensive coverage for the price.
Get the best comprehensive coverage for the price. CG Britcay. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by Encourse Cayman. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Change your thinking, change your life. There's no great success without commitment.
As motivational speaker Tony Robbins said, individuals who succeed have a belief in the power of commitment. If there's a single belief that seems almost inseparable from success, it's that there's no great success without commitment. If you look at successful people in any field, you'll find they're not necessarily the best and the brightest, the fastest and the strongest. You'll find they're the ones with the most commitment.
Change your thinking. Change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning. Once again, let's take a look at traffic. Coming off of Bobby Thompson Way, traffic is busy. Busy traffic coming off of Agnes Way, and traffic from the east on the Linford Pearson Highway is busy. Slight delays expected. Busy traffic coming off of the Esteli Tibbetts Highway, and traffic also busy heading to Georgetown on Crew Road. The usual traffic flow on Walker's Road heading to Georgetown. Slight delays expected. Eastbound traffic on Crew Road is moving on swiftly as we look to Godfrey Dixon Way and Eastern Avenue flowing moderately. And on the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz, traffic is moderate in both directions, and as well coming from the West Bay four-way stop. Busy traffic in the Industrial Park area, and North Sound Road traffic is moderate and some section of the section steady. That's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12 o'clock. We'll give you another traffic report.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory breaded, frozen and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're going to continue with our discussion with Chief Officer Mr. Wesley Howell and Minister Dwayne Seymour. And before we start, I just want to say thank you to the Leader of the Opposition and the Deputy Leader of the Opposition who have ceded some of their time to allow the Minister and his Chief Officer to continue. Goes to show you that in some countries, ceding things are not too bad. We know in Ukraine, and I don't want to make light of it, but we know the Russians don't want to cede any territory that they have already captured, from the Ukraine. But here in the Cayman Islands, our politicians are quite flexible. So I want to thank the opposition for ceding some of their time to allow the minister to continue. So Gents, I'm not going to take up any more of the mic. I'm going to pass it over to you all.
Thank you again, Mr. Connor. So we got a call during the break, and I think it's a good opportunity to clarify some points I made earlier. The restrictions as it is now do not apply to cars that are 7 years and younger. The restrictions on imports on vehicles and light trucks would be from vehicles that are 8 years up to 29 years. Vehicles that are older than 30 years and older, so that's 1990. For 2023, that would be a 1993 and older vehicle. So those vehicles fall into a special category that would exempt them from these import restrictions and allow them to come in. Also exempted are vehicles that persons have already purchased. So you have a bill of sale that's dated May 1st or earlier. Those vehicles, regardless of where they are, can be imported. If you've exported your classic car, and again, this would be within that 8 to or special car within that 8 to 29 year of age, those vehicles, if you already own them, you can import them because the bill of sale that predates the May 1st date would be allowed to come into effect. So that should cover those bits. Now, could there be some additional room for tweaking younger years, somewhere between the 8 and 30 for special types of vehicles? Absolutely. I shared earlier that this is one of several initiatives that the government is contemplating in relation to vehicles, vehicle safety, vehicle emissions, and those things. So that's something I think we can stay tuned for other work. But this order only applies to the import of vehicles. It isn't concerned with the licensing and the driving. I was mentioning in a break that during my time in Singapore, back in the 90s, they had a special license plate that they had on some of these vehicles that you could only drive those vehicles on the weekend. You couldn't drive them Monday to Friday. And their issue is land. For their massive amount of population, the small amount of land, congestion was very, very, very heavy. So therefore, that was one of the things that. So all those are possibilities that the government can and is already looking at, and I think you can stay tuned for those to come forward.
Yep, excellent, Minister.
No, I thank you, and thank you for having me. It's good to be in the studio. Good morning to the listeners, radio listeners. When we thought bringing this forward, there's a lot of things that we're trying to solve, and obviously there will be areas that persons will call in about or message us about that we hadn't thought of. And, perfect is the evil of good, when you're trying to make improvements. So we're trying to help solve a myriad of stuff. Safety. We're talking about protecting our Caymanians' investment. We're talking about avoiding the parts crisis that you're not buying a car every 2 years. We're talking about trying to curb the amount of imports that we have coming into this country, creating our traffic mess, as I was just in. I was coming down just now, and as I'm driving, all the cars in front of me, they're all fit. I felt like going to the gym. but we're not making light of this, but we understand the financial implications for some people. Yeah. But I think when people really think about what we're trying to do here, and we're trying to help them avoid buying a car every 2 years because the car only lasts that long because we can't find parts or otherwise.
Yeah, I know one mechanic who has basically shifted his whole his whole business plan now towards parts for Honda Fits as opposed to dealing with other vehicles, because there are so many Honda Fits on the island and so many issues about parts as well. His whole business plan has completely shifted,
and so should they.
Business model.
Family members of mine, my children, they drive Fits also. I drive a 10-year-old car. The first car I kept it for 16 years, so I don't have a problem with the older car.
That's how old mine is now, 16 years.
Exactly. So that's not the problem, and I understand the financial implications in terms of persons trying to afford. But when we really looked at it, everyone in caucus, I mean, it's an independent government, it was quite vociferous in there in terms of trying to get to this point. And most persons thought, this is a sweet spot because of the data that had been provided to us by the ministry in terms of that between 5 and 10 years are the bulk of vehicles being shipped in. So if we had looked at the data and the data said that the bulk of vehicles being shipped into the island are between 10 and 15 years old, we would have never made this decision.
So, Mr. Connor, from an affordability perspective, we're looking at the import declarations for last year. And the first 4 cars in terms of the cheapest cars that are on there were all Honda Fits coming in from Singapore and Japan. Purchase price $2,800, $3,600, $3,800, $4,800. That's the first 4. Those folks are paying $3,200 in duties and fees. And if we jump up to the next one, we're talking $5,000 vehicles. So these are vehicles that would still be allowed under the existing regime, and that's the price point that the more cost-effective ones are coming in. The cheapest ones are coming in from a 2016 year, which is the maximum year you can import now. So there are still vehicles that are in the affordable range from that perspective, but you can see that you're paying almost as much for shipping and duty as you do for the purchase price of those vehicles. So the data was looked at very carefully in relation to affordability, and I can share that I've gotten comments that are mixed. I've gotten people that say good, a little bit late, but good. Some decisions were made. Some people saying, why didn't you make it more restrictive? Follow at least Jamaica, and if not, some of the other folks that are less years. But likewise, I also hear people saying, my child is going to start driving next year, and I want to be able to afford a vehicle for them because I don't want them riding with anybody else, and those sorts of things. So, and I think that's why the policymakers came up with the 7-year and under being allowed, and 8-year and to 29 years being restricted, is to try and bridge some of that and make some inroads in there. The data coming out of Jamaica is when they first implemented their vehicle restrictions, they saw a contraction in the number of vehicles. They also saw an increase in the price of used vehicles, but they also importantly saw a shift towards public transportation, private buses. And you're always saying that the buses in Cayman don't operate on a regular schedule. But if there's one thing that I know, and I might sound a bit like a politician here, is that we have very creative and entrepreneurial people in this country. So if there is a demand, if there's a way to make money, people will step up. So it's a chicken and egg. Do you restrict the cars before you have the capacity, or you restrict the cars to build the capacity? And I think starting at 7 years and younger with restrictions 8 to 29 years means that there'll be some constriction, but not significant enough to impact a whole lot of people in relation to their ability to own a car. But importantly, it will start to push individuals towards carpooling, towards private buses, and hopefully at some point other forms of transportation. But this is chicken and egg, and at this point, this is a preemptive move in order to create that friction. Cost does change buying habits,
yes.
And this will push some people towards carpooling and others.
And what do we say to those persons who are looking at the low cost of a vehicle for their child, but they also need to take into consideration the safety? And are you going to compromise the safety of your loved ones for a few $1,000s? You have to ask yourself that question.
I was going to mention that just now in terms of, I heard you talking earlier about who did we import cars first for, and it was for the nanny. And, everybody wanted a car for the nanny to drop the children to school. And we're talking about having our precious ones inside this car that doesn't meet crash standards and safety impact regulations. And I think the older the car, the more likely it will be that the car doesn't meet crash standards. So I say to persons that, yes, this will affect some people, but not a lot of people. And we thought we'd find a sweet spot, as we say, of 7 years that will help with some of the newer technology, because what they've found also is that, you know, a 10-year car is going to be, you know, you can get that for a low price, but the maintenance costs will cost you a lot. And so definitely we're trying to look out for our Caymanians' investment and trying to help guide them as much as we can. And, you know, we don't want to get into the business of trying to guide people in everything that they do. But this is one area that we're really not just solving one problem. We're solving a lot of problems by trying to make these decisions, because right now Cayman is the only place that didn't have standards for import. So we became the dumping ground. Yeah.
One person wanted to know about the disposal fee. What is the current disposal fee for vehicles?
So there's an environmental impact fee, and that's $1,000, and the disposal fee, the special waste fee, is what it's technically called, is $250, which arguably is not enough to dispose of these vehicles. I think the government still subsidizes that as well in relation to the cost of environmentally sensitive way of disposing of them and recycling parts and taking them off island. And then you add in the derelict vehicles issue, then that's even more significant.
Okay. Any closing comments?
So just to remind folks
Sure.
that the existing exemptions apply in relation to special equipment, that's heavy equipment and whatnot. That application process through DVDL ought to be done prior to the import, actually prior to the purchase of a vehicle, because you need to satisfy some requirements in relation to having a trade and business license to operate that vehicle, and a safe and appropriate place to park it as well, so it's not left on the road. The restriction in vehicle imports apply to vehicles 8 years through 29 years. 30 years then fall into the antique, historical, vintage type classification. So to put that in raw numbers, you can import a car from 2023, and I think some 2024s are already on the market, up to 2016 at this for 2023. 2015 to 1992 would be restricted. 1993 and onwards would be permitted at this point, and persons who have already purchased a vehicle or shipped off a vehicle that they want to ship back, whether they send it away for restoration or otherwise, if your vehicle was purchased before the order came into effect, you can still import that vehicle. You'd have to then show that documentation to Customs and Border Control. And I think that's it, Minister, unless you can think of any of the other key points.
Yeah, well, I just want to hit on that. You know, our restrictions are not higher than Trinidad, Barbados, Dominican Republic, and Jamaica. And yes, we know we want to ensure that it's economically viable in terms of the sweet spot that we chose. But we want to ensure that you're safe and also that your vehicle has a longer life. And we're looking out definitely for Caymanians' investment to ensure that their investment can be realized for a long time.
Okay. There is a question, and I know that it doesn't necessarily relate to this, but this is an ongoing discussion as well. Several persons have sent in WhatsApp messages in relation to work permit holders and the importation, their ability to import vehicles. And the Premier on Monday indicated that this is only a small part of a huge package that is being developed, in that area as well. So I just wanted to point that out to you.
Well, that is an area that a lot of us in caucus have an appetite for, and we don't believe, as I said earlier, that everyone who's just arrived on the shore should have a car. Now, we have a responsibility now to ensure that we have a proper transportation system, which we need to work towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Gentlemen, I want to thank you. Thank you all very much. And just to remind you, Friday remains open for you in the event that you want to come on and, to talk some more.
Mr. Connor, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Hugh and the Leader of the Opposition for giving us some of their time this morning. Really do appreciate it.
Yes.
I'll pay for that.
Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we will have the Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Roy McTaggart, and Deputy Leader and Member of Parliament, Mr. Joey Hugh, in the studio. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
We still don't know the true impact of non-communicable diseases like diabetes and cancer on our people. This is why, from June 3rd to July 31st, 3,300 adults from all 3 islands will be chosen to participate in the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Results from this survey will allow the Ministry of Health and Wellness to take a data-driven approach to making healthcare policy decisions now and for the future. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps to learn more.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. At Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me now, we have the Honourable Roy McTaggart, Leader of the Opposition, and Deputy Leader of the Opposition and Member of Parliament, Mr. Joey Hugh. And before we start, I just again want to thank you, gentlemen, for ceding some of your time in the studio with the members of the government. And despite the adversarial approach that we have, as far, as politics are concerned, we do see where, there is collaboration. And on several occasions, I must mention that on Wednesday is a date that has been assigned for the opposition that you have given way to allow important discussions to take place. Only a couple of weeks ago, when we had the Danny Coleman and her group in here as well, you did the same thing. So I want to say thank you very much, for that as well. So the mic is yours.
Well, good morning, OC, and good morning, K-Man. Delighted once again to be back with you as well.
Good morning. Good morning to our listeners out there, OC. Okay. Good morning. Good to be back. And, and on the heel of all of this, I think joining chorus with yourself and others and saying, while you're out there and listening to us, please be careful on our roads. Yes. And I think it's a campaign that you started a long time ago at the end of your show. I think it is a campaign that we should all pick up on a daily basis, just saying to everyone, let's be careful on the roads. The delays that you will encounter if you're pulled over and the expense of a speeding ticket, or if you're getting an accident, it's not worth it. We all be patient, be courteous, traffic will flow, and we'll all get there safely, which is most importantly at some time.
Yep. Well, OC, I think we've probably got lots to talk about this morning, given so we spent the last 3 days last week in
Parliament.
Yes. So we can talk about things that were done or accomplished there at that time. But I think it's probably appropriate we can just pick up with what your previous two guests were talking about with regard to the regulations that were thrust upon us on Monday morning without any notice whatsoever. I think I could start off by saying that, as the opposition, the policy itself is one which we supported and support in terms of, as one of the potential solutions or things that could be done to offer solutions for the traffic crisis that we have in this country. As it stands right now, it will take quite a bit of time, I think, for that policy to filter through, where it doesn't prohibit the importation of vehicles. It just says it has to be younger than 7 years old. So that is going to make it far more expensive for those who have been accustomed all these years to getting, being able to buy the, relatively cheap cars, that are 10, 15, some of them I know, 20 years old when they're imported and have very finite lives remaining. So overall, I think it is a policy that we support and our report to government, and I made mention of it in December as one of a litany of things that could be done. I think where we part company with the government on this is just the way it was done. One, it was thrust upon us on Monday. We wake up to it on Monday morning and hear it, and I have a problem, OC, with the government taking such an important policy, just thrusting it on your citizens without really having any time period for discussion about it, not even making them aware of it. Honestly.
But you don't think that the element of surprise was important? We heard the chief officer speak to the fact that, they wanted to do it with little notice. Otherwise, you could have had a flood of orders being placed for vehicles, and that could have presented a situation.
Absolutely. That obviously was a risk. In fact, I had where I was going to, as I said, I had several phone calls from Caymanians, at least one of whom was a public servant, said, look, I was really in the market right now looking to buy a vehicle and import it. Now that opportunity was immediately lost to her, and she said, if I have to look at a used vehicle now that is younger than 7 years, I'm basically priced out of the market. So that is one of the consequences that you have of it. no way around it, really. That's just the reality of it, and you see it affected them immediately. She said she actually had a taxi license, and she was looking to buy a van which she could use to transport guests or customers. So that's just the reality of it. And I say that only because I've just seen several instances here of late where government has just done that, precisely that. They spring it on you and foist it. Sometimes it's in there and you don't even know about it. No statement. I mean, I think of the regulations they put in last year with regard to the 4% tax on the importation of gold into the country. First time that I know of where we actually put it on a tax on wealth, but there was no advance warning, nothing. It was just done, and then you have the situation too with the veterinary, spaying and neutering of feral cats and dogs, just foisted on us, and nobody really knew upon it.
And feeding the chickens.
Feeding the chickens.
that one created a real controversy.
So I mean, it seems to me. I just wonder, in terms of that whole thing. I mean, I heard the chief officer this morning saying there's a whole litany, and I think the minister as well, of other policy changes coming into it that are going to be coming with regard to this whole issue of
to address the traffic situation.
The traffic situation. That this is just one of them. I mean, one of the things I've been saying for some, I said several times publicly that if you're going to introduce these things, everything has to hinge on a viable public transport system. And we don't seem to be anywhere near being able to put that into place at this point in time, unless they have some big announcement as to what their plans are. And as far as I know, I don't know whether the minister actually has the report from Deloitte's with regard. I don't think they do.
No, the question was asked
in the House. The question was asked in the House. So
the minister has just taken over that ministry. Again, we can get back to that. But my feelings on the public transport is it's gone from a ministry where it probably did not get the type of attention it deserved, being such a large ministry of tourism and the airport and the seaports. But now I think it's gone to an even larger ministry. And my concern is that once again, public transport, if you compare it to the day-to-day demands of ministries such as NRA, holding NRA Public Works, DVES, DVDL, amongst other things, public transport can disappear in there. When you look at the ratio, the budget that public transport is given versus the budget in the tens of millions that these other ministries are given, public transport budget usually is around under 500,000, I believe it is, per year. So my concerns there, sorry not to cut in on the leader, is that again public transport will disappear. But if we go back to what we were talking about earlier and the situation this morning, which we were happy to give way to our good friend Minister Seymour and of course Chief Officer Howell, which again he's doing his job. But we had to believe, I went back and looked at the cabinet minutes. Last week's cabinet, if they had a cabinet the day before Parliament started, those minutes haven't been uploaded yet. Okay. But previous to that, I saw nothing. Over the previous three minutes, we saw nothing about the Customs Act, amendments, Customs Act. And we had to, our assumption was that after last week's debacle in Parliament, which we'll get to later on in the show, I'm sure, that this was just another knee-jerk reaction to pressure and having the Premier unusually coming on to the show to make this large announcement without his minister, without the chief officer from that ministry. We found it very strange as well. I know that the Premier was traveling, but I think this could have been done. And these sorts of things come up in the absence of any formal press conferences, something that they campaigned on. that they would be talking to the public, they would have press conferences, etc. And the last attempt at a press conference just became a press statement. They could have sent that one out in writing. So this is where this is again points to where we see the lack of cohesion and the lack of unity amongst the PAC government, where you have the Premier coming out and making a huge announcement, and then you turn around and have a last-minute decision for the actual minister responsible for that ministry and his chief officer to come on the radio. And I think it's way too important of a subject. It obviously has raised some questions and concerns amongst persons not understanding why. But again, if this was done in a proper press conference where they could lay out more of the plans that they have and give people the information, you won't have this uproar. You won't have this, and you won't have people jump into conclusions. And if you are a social media user, you would have seen yesterday all sorts of assertions, including that we are now going to end up with one car per family like Bermuda. And I mean, people are just out there with all sorts of wild things because of the way this was brought to the light.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue, so please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
She hear clunk and her car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN Money Transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money Transfer Card. Fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones in Jamaica about it. Sign up is free.
Washing your clothes in cold water can save you 90% of your washing machine energy usage.
Using LED light bulbs uses 75% less energy than regular bulbs, and they last 25 times longer. Keeping your appliances and equipment cleaned and maintained regularly will reduce your monthly electricity bill.
The do-it-yourself energy audits on energy.gov.ky make it easy to find ways to save energy and money in your home or business.
Complete an energy audit of your home or business before 31st of May 2023 to be entered into a prize giveaway. Prizes include a $5,000 gift certificate to Home Gas and gift certificates to Cooling Pros, Foam Pros, Costulest, and Foster's.
To learn more, visit energy.gov.ky today and follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, K-Man.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio K-Man.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, the Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Roy McTaggart, Deputy Leader and Member of Parliament, Mr. Joey Hugh. And gentlemen, can I tell my listening and viewing audience that at some juncture during the show that the phone lines will be open for them to call in as well, and we'll let them know when?
Yeah, we do. Let's give us till say 9:30. And we quote that okay?
Excellent.
And open it up. But we'd like some time just to talk before we actually open up a phone line.
Go right ahead.
If I will, what I'll do is read the motion that the opposition brought for the government to consider the recommendations by a cross-ministry committee that we had put together during COVID to review to make recommendations on the traffic import traffic issue. And I can run through these real quick. First one was import restrictions for Caymanians to be allowed to import a maximum of 2 vehicles per year. Caymanians importing 3 or more vehicles per year should be defined in one of 2 categories, reseller or collector. If a reseller, the person should be required to have a trade and business license and others similar, identical to the licensed car dealers. Be the cars new or used, combined with other restrictions. If a collector, person should be subject to annual registrations fee identified with a special edition collector's plate for each new import. Number 2 recommendation was ownership restriction for short-term work permit holders should not be allowed to own a vehicle, and in particular an automobile, within 3 months to 12 months. Renting, co-oping, carpooling recommended motorbikes under 125cc would be allowed. So basically a moped. Number 3 was import restrictions for long-term work permit holders, 12 months plus, may own a vehicle but are restricted from importing the same and should be required to purchase from a local supplier and or supply only vehicles. Exceptions may be made for individuals wishing to import their personal vehicle upon moving to the island. Number 4, age restriction on imported vehicles. Persons allowed to import vehicles no older than 10 years old, with a goal to further reducing this age to 6 years over a 5-year period, or as public transport improves, whichever is less. So that was an important caveat. Number 5, inspection certificates. This is very important because one of the most compelling cases that was presented to us was by the accident reconstruction experts from the RCIPS. Showed us the difference between a U.S. imported Honda Fit and a Japanese imported Honda Fit, the difference in the results of similar accidents. And it was night and day. It really was night and day, where the U.S. one with the safety standards survived a massive accident with no loss of life, and then one with no safety standards out of the Japan, or the Japanese safety standards, I should say, saw loss of life in a lesser accident. So there is Jamaica, I know for sure, has it. You must have an inspection certificate completed in the country of purchase prior to its importation in the Cayman Islands. This would include confirmation of the vehicle make, model, year of manufacture, year of registration, body type, vehicle type, passenger capacity, fuel type, maintenance records, emissions, the VIN number, model number, engine capacity and number, odometer verification, the transmission, radiation, on Japanese, test for radiation in the Japanese vehicles, because we know that radiation is a real issue over there.
Yes.
And pictures of the vehicle and advised sailing date and vessel dates. So again, this is something that other Caribbean islands do. This is similar to when you import appliances, for instance, and electronics, and they have to be UL certified. This is the same thing. So it's a particular certification level, and this is why these vehicles can't be exported to the U.S. and other major countries, Canada, etc., because they don't meet certain safety standards. So these are minimum safety standards, and again, all of the different records ensure that you're getting the car that you ordered and the safety is there. Number 6 was the introduction of staggered work time, flex time, telecommuting. Recommended large employees, 50 to 100 staff, such as financial services. Government could regulate shifts, for example. And I think this has happened since COVID. A lot of companies are continuing to have persons on flex time, working from home certain days of the week. And this is just encouraging that again. Number 7 was requirement for buses for private schools, staggered school bus hours. Again, this was debated in Parliament this week, and there were a lot of good recommendations that came out of that private member motion by the member from Red Bay, Sir Alden. And again, the consensus was clear there that even if it is where government provides that school bus for private schools or assists them financially with it, give that option for the private schools to have public transport school buses. I think it could start as easy as allowing the government contracted bus operators to also carry students for other schools.
Yes.
It used to be that way.
Yeah.
When I went to Cayman Prep, which was where Cayman Prep High School is now, I rode the bus with my siblings, and then there was a gate by the bus stop and Cayman Prep, and Apple's mom used to operate a little canteen there. Yes. I would ride the school bus from West Bay to the high school at the time, and then just walk across and then ride the school bus. And I remember specifically, I would take the money each month, whatever it was, the $20 or whatever I had to pay. I would take it each month with a little slip that my parents would fill out and give it to the bus driver, so that me as a private school student could ride on the government bus. So there's that opportunity. Staggered school hours was one of the most, we recognize that at the peak of the traffic increase in the mornings in particular, it was when the government schools moved their times from 8:30 to 8 a.m. And this was based on a study that the kids are much more productive at that particular time of the morning. The argument that we heard was, well, it's fantastic if they're productive at that time of the morning, but is that based on them waking up an extra hour earlier to get to school at that time in the morning if you're coming from some of the eastern districts, or even more than that? So, and then the other issue with that was that they were starting. You had, for instance, in the Red Bay area, you have First Baptist, you have Prospect Primary, Red Bay Primary, Lighthouse School, a couple of private schools there. You had about 5 or 6 within a 2-mile radius that all started school between 7:45 and 8 a.m. So all of the parents are trying to get there at the same time. The other issue there was that some of the schools, in particular the government ones, would not allow you to drop your children before 7:30.
Yes.
So you can't even get there earlier because there was a liability. There was no one there to watch them before 7:30. And I think Savannah Primary, the PTA, actually stood up, and the Homeschool Association, or PTA, yeah. They actually then put the volunteers,
to be there
wardens,
early,
to be there early to oversee. So again, these are all these things. Improve lane efficiencies. We all know about that. Express lanes, bus lanes, etc. Improve public transport. I could talk about that all day long. Dial a ride or demand responsive transit. That is taking the something that we were working on at the time, taking the public buses, the omnibuses we call them, and putting a dial a ride like an Uber, operate them like an Uber. So, they don't want to drive up and down Newlands all day to look for one ride or 2 rides and some of the side roads. But if someone in Newlands could see that there's a bus nearby, pick me up here, the bus then gets the directions, picks them up there, and boom, they go to town. That would make it more viable for the bus operators and make it easier for the commuter. And then the park and ride was also one of those, and then carpooling was the final recommendation.
Okay, perfect timing. Top of the hour, headline news at 9 o'clock. Folks, please stay tuned. The discussion will continue after the headline news.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
The Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency has launched its public consultation period for the draft Climate Change Policy 2023-2040, which will close on June 30th. For more information, head to gov.ky/sustainability/climate change policy. At least 8 students and a security guard are dead after a shooting at an elementary school in Serbia's capital, Belgrade. Another 6 pupils and a teacher were injured in the attack and have been taken to the hospital. Police arrested a 14-year-old boy in connection with the attack. The suspect's classmate said he walked into a history class, first shot the teacher, and then turned his weapon on fellow students. Officials say the suspect is alleged to have used his father's gun. And Russian ships able to perform underwater operations were present near to where explosions later took place on the Nord Stream pipelines, according to an investigative documentary. The vessels were reportedly located using intercepted Russian Navy communications. Underwater explosions last year knocked the 2 Nord Stream pipelines built to carry gas from Russia to Europe out of action. The cause of the blasts are unclear. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
Health Services Authority is now offering online payment options for patients. Patients of HSA can now pay their bills, including deposits, towards scheduled services online at payments.hsa.ky. The secure, new online payment system accepts debit or credit cards and is in addition to the available payment options of cash, check, and online bank transfer. For quick, easy, and secure payment directly from your phone or computer, visit HSA's new online payment system at payments.hsa.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Roy McTaggart, and Deputy Leader and Member of Parliament, Mr. Joey Hugh. Gentlemen, back over to you.
You want to pick up where you were?
No, I had just completed, before the break, completed the recommendations that came from a committee when we were in office just prior to and during COVID, actually, just prior to elections. And we brought those recommendations to the House November last year.
Yeah.
And they were basically dismissed as...
Well, I was the one that brought the private members' motions. and yeah, I mean, all of those recommendations that were there and asked government to consider it, and it was quite, as he said, dismissed. It was premature, they said.
Yeah, premature.
And the minister himself promised Parliament that they would roll out their new plan in January of this year. And here we are. The first day of May, we get an inkling of what is coming, and we are only left to guess as to what the rest of it is. In the meantime, to me, it just seems very haphazard to just be going and implementing this piecemeal. I mean, when the success of anything really depends on a number of interlinked recommendations, OC. So I have a feeling, there's quite a bit of a public reaction to it. To me, mostly negative. Everything that I certainly saw yesterday, and I'm assuming it'll continue today, was very negative about it. And I recognize that not just as a member of Parliament, just as an ordinary citizen, we have some difficult choices to make, because the status quo is not acceptable for us. It's not sustainable for us, and that there is going to be a need for us to change the way we do things. But it's important that you get your ducks in order before you start rolling out change. And I'm afraid my concern here with what was revealed to us on Monday is that, was it Monday? Yeah. That it is not, that's not the way it's going to unfold. I hope I'm wrong, but that's my feeling at the moment.
Yeah. Well, see, I think, looking at this from a bigger picture, a lot of our debate on the strategic policy statement last week was around the vagueness of the statement, and also where are the things that, there was no mention of the things that are really going to help our people. And if you take the traffic issue, which I think we should talk about the debate that happened in there on the east-west arterial, because it's extremely important that the country understands where we're at and where the government is at based on that debate. But you look at traffic. Again, as we said, we brought a motion in December that was a bit more comprehensive than what we heard Monday by the Premier and even this morning by Mr. Howell. They indicated that there were more things to come. But we gave them a report. We gave them a motion that just spelled it all out. And that is the sort of thing I believe the country expected was, here's our plan. Here's our policy. This is how we're going to deal with the traffic. Everybody can get up there and say, as I did when I was minister, we're not going to build our way out of this, right? But where is that comprehensive plan? And that's what we were looking for. How are we going to help our people move around the island safely and timely, and in particular for those in the eastern districts, how are we going to help improve their quality of life? And then this is what we get after a week of debating in Parliament, an announcement Monday morning. Let's look at housing. We heard nothing really. They're going to build houses and then they're going to make some land available for Caymanians to buy. There was no real, nobody really spoke passionately about housing in any of the debates. In fact, the only person that debated on the government side was Minister Bryan, and Minister Bernie Bush got up and said that he would be making a statement, which he did a few days later, but there was no other debate. But we brought a motion a year ago now, OC, to increase the stamp duty waivers on first-time Caymanian home ownership by 100,000, to allow for shared stamp duty waivers, to reduce stamp duty for all Caymanians to 5.5% from 7.5%, to give Caymanians the edge, to give Caymanians the advantage in the housing market and when they enter the housing market to purchase a home, and also to allow any purchase over the 500,000 would be an additional 2% stamp duty. So this would not pigeonhole our first-time Caymanian homeowners into a particular category or
because it was discovered that was happening. Yeah.
And that was happening at the moment. At the moment you go out looking as my son had been doing as a young Caymanian. You go out there and you're looking for something under 400,000. You're not going to find it. And if it's $401,000, you got to pay 22% stamp duty on it. You can't qualify for the waiver. Now, we understood that several people applied to the Ministry of Finance, and I think the former Minister of Finance announced, in one of the debates I remember, saying how many waivers he did. But not everybody has that ability. Not everybody's aware that you can do that. And I don't think that that's what the government wants, is that every young Caymanian buying a home applying to the Ministry of Financial Services for a waiver. So again, these are the items that we thought we would hear so much more about. These are the things that are impacting, our people, and we just didn't get that feeling. We got the feeling that some people want to talk about those things, but they can't get consensus on them, so they're not allowed to talk about those things. But that was the feeling we got, and those were the predominantly on from our side. Our questions on the SPS is we want to ensure that our people are going to see some relief, that our people are going to get help if and when a recession hits us. As we see, Feds are looking to increase rates again. Most banks in Cayman are already at 9% interest rate. Even if you're gonna look at people paying 13 and 14% interest on their mortgages, you can't survive. You cannot survive. And then home insurance going up, probably almost doubling. Health insurance is a crisis right now. One of the companies is struggling, and most places won't even accept, one of the largest companies on Ireland, most places won't even accept their insurance anymore. We have real issues that we're not hearing anything from the government about. And that is concerning.
Yeah. Okay. And I think I pick up where you left off with regard to the SPS OC. I mean, and that is a criticism I think that we have that really it's very short on detail. They list a lot of things that they are going to do, but when you read through it, a lot of the things that specific outcomes that they speak of are things that that the civil service will be doing in the normal course of operations anyway, that don't really affect policy in terms of the aims and aspirations of the government itself. The first SPS that they had 230 different outcomes that they were specific outcomes that they had promised the country that they were going to deliver. And I said in my speech that you found it hard to tick off very many of them because there was just no clear evidence that it had been achieved or even attempted. And then along comes this one now, and there's something like 213 that are promised here as well, that they've listed as specific outcomes in there. And it just doesn't, in my mind, engender any confidence that they can deliver on those 213 promises that they have made and are making to the people of Cayman. A lot of them, I think, I'm going through it now, trying to identify it, but a lot of them are probably brought forward from the last one, as it is. But I sort of expected or anticipated that you might have seen a much more condensed one, with this one, and that there would be very specific things that they wanted to accomplish that you could say, okay, we want to build a new high school in Cayman Brac, just as an example. And that would be something very concrete that you'd be able to go ahead and measure and see what progress is made against it. But I'm much afraid that it's this SPS that we dealt with last week would just portends more of the same for the next 2 years. And when you see the indicative numbers at which they are talking about, it is clear in terms of the spending that a lot of this now is geared to. This is what we will deal with in November in terms of a budget is an election budget. So there will be, I think, some very significant, spending plans, leading up to the elections, and some $300 million in indicative in terms of capital spending over the 2-year period is what they're looking to do. You will see when you look through and you analyze this that there is, what they are planning to do with the money from the line of credit that we had put in place that they drew down. They took and they put it into
some 300 million? Or
280 million, I think, CI. That was like 280, somewhere in that region. They put those into short-term treasuries, 2-year treasuries, or 1-year treasuries, because it drew it down last year. So that is, that matures. I would think it's not going to be much farther down the road before it matures, but they're not planning to reinvest. They're planning to take that now into their cash and cash equivalents. And if you look at it, what is being projected over the next 3 years, that is going to be consumed. It's going to be spent, and where you will end up is at the end of the day, they're projecting that at the end of 2026, they're only going to have 90.1 days in cash reserves, where we are, with close to 200 days now, like 170 days.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, one of our listeners has written in and said whether or not you have placed your expectations as far as the SPS a little bit too high, considering the fact that the government is made up of independent members. Then how can you expect to get a cohesive strategic policy statement from a diverse group of people as well? So that's interesting. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, K-Man.
Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and respiratory illnesses are among the top causes of death in Cayman every year. From June 3rd until July 31st, the Ministry of Health and Wellness will conduct the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey to better understand the prevalence of non-communicable diseases within our nation. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps to learn more.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget. Our custom closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
Ensuring your walls, ceilings, and floors are properly sealed against air leaks is an important step in lowering your monthly energy bills. Even small gaps around windows, under doors, or around lighting and plumbing fixtures can add up to as much air loss as having an open window.
The do-it-yourself energy audits on energy.gov.ky make it easy to find ways to save energy and money in your home or business.
Complete an energy audit of your home or business before 31st of May 2023 to be entered into a prize giveaway. Prizes include a $5,000 gift certificate to Home Gas and gift certificates to Cooling Pros, Foam Pros, Costuless, and Foster's.
To learn more, visit energy.gov.ky today and follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, the Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Roy McTaggart, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, and Member of Parliament, Mr. Joey Hugh. They have promised that somewhere around about 9:30 we will open up the phone lines to give our listeners and viewers an opportunity to converse with them as well. So, gentlemen, the mic is back over to you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, well, when you made a comment when a caller wrote in about the SBS, and I think the caller may be onto something there, or the listener, because it was very obvious to us that the ministers were instructed not to speak on the SBS, and that I believe when you see that sort of situation. And that's why we had nothing to really go on other than the document itself, was because we heard nothing from the ministers. Eventually at 12 midnight, Minister Bryan got up and spoke and you know, kind of shed some light. And if you're asking me, kind of indicated what that listener indicated, was that they're not at all in agreement with what is being proposed at this point as an SBS, and they are far from agreeing on anything near to a budget. I know the process for the budget starts, but this SBS is the foundation and policy document of that budget.
And if you look in the document itself, I'll see if I find a page there, but there is information here about the allocations given to each ministry and what their limits are in terms of the amount of money that they can have to spend. So that information is here in the SBC. So you know what their budget, at least in total, should look like when it is submitted back down to the Treasury. So it'd be interesting, really, and telling later on in the year now when they come to preparing it to see what actually ministers actually send back down. Because past performance is any indication, it's going to be loaded with projects that they want to complete in advance of and promise in advance of the elections. And it's going to be very telling in my mind as to how this will actually play out in the coming months. So that information, still trying to see if I can find it, but I can't put my hand on it right away. So.
Okay, I think
some on what the we'll see just on
sure.
what the leader was just speaking about. I actually, what was interesting is looking at what is concerning, I should say, looking at the cabinet minutes. The only thing in the cabinet minutes really was the moving around of money. And we're talking about some major numbers, especially on healthcare. In one cabinet meeting on April the 3rd, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cabinet papers to move under the Finance Act to move money around to cover things like mental health program, medical care beyond insurance, etc. And then there was also the movement of monies around to purchase land for $1.1 million, taking that out of the subsea cable budget, of course, which seemed to have been left out of the SBS. And also, if on the further cabinet minutes, there was a movement around of funds for some 10 million, I think it was, or 5.5 million supplementary funding for agriculture and sport regular service approved. This was approved in accordance with Section 11.5 and 11.6 of the Public Management Finance Act revision, supplementary funding of PAHI 10, management of government properties in an amount of $438,000. And then there was also, previous to that, a $5.5 million to support regulatory services in the amount of $5.5 million for that ministry as well. So we're seeing in as early as 6 months away from the end of the budget, major amounts of funds being moved around, and shortfallings in ministries that they're having to now take from capital projects that were planned and starting to reuse that money in other areas that they fell short. So it's when you look at the cabinet minutes, there really isn't anything else. Just have a look, go back and have a look at them. In some instances, there's just one item dealing with a Section 11.5, and then other times it's just movement of money. No real, we're there looking for where do we find discussions around, dealing with high interest rates. Where do we find discussions around the traffic situation? Where do we find discussions around health insurance? Where do we find discussions about cost of living? We don't see any of those discussions and I know that the cabinet minutes are briefs, basically, but you would see at least in discussions if it didn't give any detail. So I just don't have the confidence, and we certainly don't have the confidence at the moment that the government is actually operating cohesively and productively at the moment.
Now, does any of these environmental funds have to be ultimately approved by Parliament, or this is allowed within the various?
What you are seeing is a number of reshuffling of funds with under Section 11.5, which the provision is there. But remember, OC, in the outset of their term, the Minister of Finance got him, said they were not going to be using that they were going to be coming more frequently to Parliament for approvals prior to the spending. Now, Section 12 of the Public Management and Finance Law is one where you actually come back to Parliament before you seeking approval to spend funding before you actually incur it. And there was I think there was a supplementary appropriation bill that was deferred, but that may relate to 2022 and not for fresh spending. I would have to check that. But there is a bill that did come before Parliament, was slated to be held, but was deferred. Because we were given copies of it to have in advance of what should have been also a public finance committee meeting as well. But what I would say as well to us is what you are starting to see as well is more and more of these, removing money and reallocating money around, much more than I had seen in prior months. So it's one which I think we will continue to monitor because. We were taken to task quite vociferously
over the section
the use of the section 11.5 and 11.6 of the law. They made great promises that they would rectify that, but clearly they seem to have fallen back as well and continue to do what we were being criticized for. So it remains to be seen the extent of it, but I mean I know the Auditor General, she would probably pick up on it in her examinations as well of government accounts.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think OC also just a lot of people have been asking questions about what transpired last week, and I do think that we should talk about it, and that was what appeared certainly from our side and from the viewing public to be a situation where government cabinet members were debating and openly disagreeing and in some instances inferring major accusations towards the Premier. And we just sat and watched in amusement, to be very honest with you, because I think in any other jurisdiction, this would have led to either cabinet ministers being fired or the Premier resigning, because it was extremely obvious that in particular in that instance, talking about the East-West Arterial and the motion brought by the member from West Bay West, after being promised by the member from Bordentown East, but after becoming a minister, he was unable to bring that as a minister. Yep. And the member from West Bay West and Bordentown West moved and seconded the motion. But what was amazing was the obvious disagreement between the Premier and his cabinet ministers. And it got to the point where after the Premier left the room, one of his ministers he asked the question of where is he? And demanded he comes back in and gives his opinion on it. And so it is not, we again in our debate, and both the leader and myself, I think both of us in our debate of the strategic policy statement spoke about the lack of stability, spoke about the lack of investor confidence in the economy, but ended up saying it is not in our interest to see the government fall apart. We're wishing for the government to unify, to come together and do good for the country. They have 2 years left. It does us no good. It does the country no good at the moment. And the Premier in his response went on to speak a lot about investor confidence and the confidence in the government and stuff. But then the following day on that motion, we could plainly see, and the country could plainly see, that the Premier had lost the confidence of his cabinet.
Yeah.
Majority of the members, in fact.
Yeah. I mean, I would just take that a little bit further. I'd probably state, I would probably state it a little bit stronger. I would just say basically he faced a revolt in his own cabinet.
Publicly.
And it looked to me like they set out to humiliate him. That's the only way I can describe it. I sat there and watched and listened to it. And, I found it very intriguing that at least, his entire backbench spoke out in favor of the motion as well. There were only, I think, 2 people, if I can recall correctly, that didn't speak to the motion in one way or another. That was the Minister of Health and the Minister for Financial Services. They were the only 2. Everyone else spoke in favor of it. And then when it came down to it, when it came to the vote, every member of the government voted in its favor. It's just remarkable that something like that could happen in the Parliament.
Yeah.
It was an open revolt against him.
I can't imagine what happens in the caucus.
Now, that brings up an interesting question. I'm going to take the commercial break, but when we return, during one of the PPM administration, I think, was it, or it could have been the UDP, where they actually had one member who was assigned a whip in Parliament. And the importance of that whip, even though we don't use it here.
Yeah,
but
I was a whip
so
for
important.
2013 to 2017.
I think there was one time Mr. Martin was the whip when he was in government as well. We could talk a little bit about that if time allows us. Well, folks, we're going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
West Bay Pharmacy. Personalized medicine, customized care to meet your specific needs. Your body is unique to you. Your medicine should be too. Whether you're seeking individual specific medication, correct size dosages, or simply better tasting medicine, ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about how compounding at West Bay Pharmacy can increase your treatment options, not only for your family, but for your pets too. West Bay Pharmacy, open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Sundays and most holidays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
We still don't know the true impact of non-communicable diseases like diabetes and cancer on our people. This is why, from June 3rd to July 31st, 3,300 adults from all 3 islands will be chosen to participate in the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Results from this survey will allow the Ministry of Health and Wellness to take a data-driven approach to making healthcare policy decisions now and for the future. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps to learn more.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, the Honorable Roy McTaggart, Leader of the Opposition, and Deputy Leader of the Opposition and Member of Parliament, Mr. Joey Hugh. Just a few housekeeping things. We did promise that we would continue to give birthday shout-outs during the course of the show. I want to send out belated happy birthday greetings to Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Samuel Rose. He celebrated his birthday on Monday. Also today, Miss Lisa Galbraith, she's celebrating a birthday today, so we wanted to wish Lisa a happy birthday as well. My friend over in Tampa, Florida, Mr. Rex Forbes, he celebrated his birthday yesterday. And in New York, Belize Rivers, my stepdaughter, also celebrated a birthday yesterday. So just wanted to mention those. And Mr. Hugh, one of our listeners, wanted to obtain your work telephone number. I believe they probably mean the constituency office telephone number. If you could provide that at some
certainly
period during the show.
I'll do that right now,
okay,
so we don't forget. The office number is 949-0055, and the office cell is 926-4035. And Miss Lynette is there 9 to 4:30 Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Excluding holidays.
You can repeat those numbers.
The numbers, the landline is 949-0055, and the cell is 926-4035.
Okay. The mic is yours, gentlemen. And just to remind our callers that the phone lines are open now as well.
So I did say, OC, I just want to finish up on that subject and saying how the Premier spent quite a bit of time in his wind up on the SBS talking about investor confidence and confidence in the economy. And OC, if anyone takes a looks around first of all and talk to people, they'll understand that things have slowed down tremendously as we are entering in the slower period of the tourism season. If you look at the planning agendas, the planning board agendas, where in the height there would be over 80 applications, and just look at the minutes, which are all published. You will see that the agendas are published. Last week's meeting had a total of 8 applications. The week before, I think, was similar, 9 or 9 or so applications. It dropped down from an average of 80 to 85 applications. Now, there will be many who will say that we needed to slow down, and I can't disagree with them on that, perhaps. But again, that managed slowdown would come out of things like the National Development Plan, which we have not heard anything yet about. But the negative side of this, OC, is when you go from 80 applications down to 8 applications. Those are projects. That's your future projects. That is the work that our Caymanian people, those in the construction industry, in the trucking industry, in the quarrying industry, in the construction materials industry, all of the supporting industries, that is a reality in the coming years for them. The amount of projects being approved now is what it will be affecting them in 6 to 12 months' time. And it is very concerning, OC, because at a time when, again, we can't stick our head in the sand about the fact that the cost of living is increasing. The items on supermarket shelves are increasing if you can get it. Insurances, home and health insurances are increasing. Interest rates are increasing. Cost of goods across the board. Good news is now that if you do have a vehicle or a used vehicle, your value just went up. But everything is increasing if you can get it, you know, and we're in a situation that we have no control over. And I'm not, OC, please, and I want to make this very clear, I am not blaming the government for these things. Right? Every country in the world is going through it. What I'm begging the government to do is to let us know what you are going to do to help us.
Have a plan to counter.
Do you have a plan to counter this? What are your ideas? Not the presentation of a possible $1.2 billion budget that includes a lot of borrowing at a time where, and what are you going to be spending that money on? Where's a plan that's going to help our people through what is going to become a very difficult time? So I just want to raise that flag. I just want to raise that warning that I have genuine concerns, and you know, it's something that we have to, as a country, recognize, and we have to ask our officials, ask our elected officials, please, 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 let us prepare for it. This is hurricane season. We prepare for hurricane season every year. We have to prepare for what is coming.
Season of slowdown.
Yep. Season of slowdown.
Okay, we have two callers. Let's see if we can grab one caller before we go to a commercial break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Osi. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good. Good morning to the opposition leader and the deputy.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, I must take my hat off to you all this morning for standing up for the people that came on. I listened to the leader, the premier, Monday morning, and I must admit, and like I told Sterling yesterday, I must admit, and I hope I don't offend no one, but facts of life is facts of life. All I heard Monday from the premier was rubbish from his mouth. It is sad to know that we are living in this time of age where people are trying to survive on the little small salary that they have coming in week by week, month by month. And to know that they had a chance in order to get a half-decent vehicle, a brand new second-hand is what we call them, and now that is taken away from them, but his salary is not rising at no time. Or let me put it this way, those that are pensionable, because they had their little raise on their pension, which ain't much, and that is something that I would love to discuss again another time. But to know that the people had opportunities in Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac, and the difference of those here on the Brac is that we want to have two banking systems, and if one can lend you for a $4,000 car to be shipped to the Cayman to the Brac, you cannot get that vehicle unless you have that money in your system to cover that cost. Now it puts the people back a step to wonder now they got to save $12,000 in order to buy a decent vehicle for their family. I'm totally against the amount of cars on the island, and I keep advocating that. It's getting out of control. But I also want to stress this across the board. How it is that the government are trying to implement 100,000, 200,000 people in this little country, but yet they're saying they have a problem on the road with cars. If you introduce 60,000 more people into this country, that is 60,000 or 50, let's say 50,000 more cars on the road. How are you resolving that issue? And another thing I want to talk on quick is how can the government, since this new government came in, everything they do, they implement into the system. No citizen of this country knows what the government doing till they already have done it. True. And then we suffer the consequences, gentlemen.
True. Okay.
It is sad to know that we have to go through this and to know that we sit here, the world is watching the premiere on the national television, and he's blinking his eyes. He's not even looking at the camera. He is lying to the people of the Cayman Islands, and he do not realize it, because when we fall under a dictatorship leader, and this is what this country is coming to, we are in a dictatorship game, and it's sad to know that our small little country have to come under this kind of situation, gentlemen.
Okay. Thank you.
I thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much, caller, as well. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. We have 2 more callers queued up as well. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
It's time to celebrate 40 years of Cayman Carnival Batabanoo. 40 years of tradition, culture, making history. Experience the rhythm, the energy, the excitement of Batabanoo under the theme All Nations One Celebration. On Saturday, May 6th, celebrate Cayman Islands, Honduras, Jamaica, India, Cuba, Panama, Mexico, Trinidad, and the U.S. through music, dance, and stunning costumes. The parade starts at 1 p.m. from 7 Mile Public Beach and ends at Seafarers Way, Georgetown. For the food festival and the last lap street dance with 3 music stages to enjoy. Cayman Carnival Batabanoo, Saturday, May 6th, starting at 1 p.m. from 7 Mile Beach. Join us celebrating 40 years of a colorful melting pot of nations. Visit CaymanCarnival.com for more information.
I tell you what, I need to find a way to bring my electricity costs down. I don't want to see another high bill next month.
Have you tried doing an energy audit?
A what?
An energy audit. The do-it-yourself energy audits on energy.gov.ky make it easy to find ways to save energy and money in your home or business.
Oh yeah? I'm going to log on to that website right now. What was it again?
Visit energy.gov.ky to download do-it-yourself energy audits for your home or business. There is even a fun activity guide for kids.
Complete an energy audit of your home or business before 31st of May 2023 to be entered into a prize giveaway. Prizes include a $5,000 gift certificate to Home Gas and gift certificates to Cooling Pros, Foam Pros, Costulest, and Foster's.
Visit energy.gov.ky today and follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Hey guys, I got a joke for you. What did one ocean say to the other?
I don't know.
Nothing. It just waved.
I don't get it.
An ocean? It waves to another ocean.
Oceans can't wave. They don't have hands.
What?
How would they even see each other? They don't have eyes either.
Seriously, how are you not getting this?
Oceans aren't even alive. Nothing you said makes sense.
With most claims paid within a few days, we're like a friend that doesn't miss the joke. CG Britgay. Good like that.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last leg of the show this morning. We have 2 callers still on hold. And big shout out to Mr. Joshua Scotland, who celebrated his birthday yesterday as well. So belated happy birthday to Mr. Joshua Scotland. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, OC. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
To the opposition you have there. Glad to hear their feedback. Often need to hear feedback from both sides. The debates last week were interesting, very interesting, and I hope a lot of people listened. But what I want to ask this morning, and I'm happy that Mr. Hugh addressed the busing of students, because that really could make a serious impact on the travel to and from in the mornings and to and from in the afternoons. I do remember, like himself, back in the day at prep, and the ability to transport was so different. And of course, we're not there, but it would really be something useful. Like, I think the one thing we'd have to be concerned about is all the children together from the different schools. But it would be welcoming, because they'd actually get to see some of their counterparts, which they don't normally see on the regular
absolutely.
basis. And I think that would be a positive outcome, and we need to continue to ensure that our children get the opportunity to mingle together, because I think that's missing from what we had when we were growing up. But I really want to hear their view on this nonsense that's going on with MRCU. I mean, to think that we had to get a news brief that talked foolishness like, oh, well, you know, we have one plane that's out, fine, but we have one plane that we actually scheduled to be out on one of the most critical times in our in this year, and I don't get the logic as to why we would plan a scheduled maintenance during rainy seasons like April and May. And then we get told, oh, well, you know, the tide rose so high that it caused aging larvae to hatch. And I'm thinking, but tides rise every day. You all knew that larvae were there, obviously. You didn't do anything about it. Are we waiting for larvae to hatch? Why wouldn't we kill larvae, or is it some part of something that I don't clearly understand? But we shouldn't be at a stage now in this society with the 70,000+ people we have fighting mosquitoes. I mean, we got to do better, and I just really would like to hear what the opposition has to say about that.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. Let's grab the last caller, and then the gentleman, you can respond to both of them. Caller, good morning, welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC.
Morning,
Mr. Joey and Mr. Roy.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, I just want to echo the sentiments of the caller there from the Cayman Brock in reference to the premier. It seems that he has a problem addressing the real issues that face us. He always comes on and talks, and when you question him about certain things, he avoids the question, dodges it, and goes around it. He had a meeting, Kenneth had a meeting recently where he attended. He didn't speak one word about progress or what's happening in terms of traffic, what's happening with the poverty situation in Cayman, people living on the beach, the cost of living. He didn't touch on any of those issues. He just came out and basically bragged about how perfect Cayman is, when it's far from perfect, as we all know.
Try and damage control.
Yeah, I would like to know if it's possible for one of you all to file for a vote of no confidence, because from what you said earlier, it seems like his own government is turning against him. So maybe that's something you should take into consideration.
Yeah,
I
appreciate that, and you know the use of a motion of no confidence in the government is something that the opposition always has in its war chest, if I can just use that term. With something like a vote of no confidence, timing is everything in terms of any potential time, chances of success. And as you are aware, we tried that last July, August time frame, I think it was, where the government did not allow that motion to get to the floor, and what you had instead was a vote of confidence, a motion of confidence in the government. But I mean, at the end of the day, motion of confidence, you can have as many motions of confidence as you want. That doesn't instill any confidence in the people in terms of their appreciation and confidence in the government itself. It's just them patting their own backs and speaking of just how good they are when we know that's simply not the case. So yes, it is a weapon and a tool that the opposition has, always available anytime you're going into Parliament. But timing is really everything in terms of when you use it, in terms of your chances of a success. So we continue to look at things and monitor things very closely. And I'll leave the discussion there at that, because I don't want to say any more.
Thank you very much, caller, as well. Comments on the MRCU situation and the caller.
Yeah. 2 planes, 1 pilot, and nothing is available.
Yeah.
Well, the pilot is.
Yeah.
That's why I wonder we can.
2 plus 1 equals to 0. That's a new math.
I don't seem to hear as much from MRCU as we had in the past, and I think the caller is absolutely right. We know these king tides are coming every year. It's something that we try to prepare for. NRU will try to prepare for with the drains, etc. And normally you would hear utterances from MRCU that they are preempting these king tides, and then you'll see the trucks out. You'll hear the plane. It just seems as if they missed the mark this year, OC. And we are,
because those pellets are supposed to dissolve then in the water and kill the larvae.
I don't know if what they're using anymore, whether they're using the pellets or whether they're using the ones they use that take the wings off of the mosquitoes once they have hatched, which are more environmentally friendly, I understand. But this is the one department that we were world renowned for. We were leaders in the world in mosquito research and development and control.
Giglioli put us on the map with that.
I think we have to pay close attention to it and make sure that we don't slip so far away, fall so far away that we create more issues. And I mean, it's if going back to the whole sustainability thing, it's not as if we have other than persons' backyards and leaving water and stuff. But in this case, it's the wetlands that we're talking about, and we don't even have as much as we used to have, the vast areas of wetlands to treat. So it'd be interesting. I read the last release said that they hope to get the plane up and running at the end of this week. I believe. Well, I tell you, it's needed.
It's needed.
But where I would pick up on this here too is they've got other tools.
Yeah.
To
the trucks,
fogging,
the trucks and the fogging and stuff. Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you, I live next to an area of wetlands there, and normally they are an integral part of the efforts to control the mosquito population. Haven't seen them, conspicuously absent.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been out. I have theorized that there's a lot of debate about the point system for permanent residents, and this is another test on the point system. For those persons who are applying, if you are not able to know how to deal with the mosquitoes in the absence of MRCU, that means if you don't know about smoke pot and stuff like that, then you have failed the point system test. So that's how to deal with mosquitoes is it.
Here's another opportunity for the farmers.
Yes.
Sell smoke pots.
Okay.
But so I don't know. I mean, this is something that affects all of us, right? And affects our tourism product tremendously. So hopefully they get it sorted, OC. And also I know they used to come around in my area's wetlands as well, and the guys on foot with the big foggers. We maybe we're all just busy and we don't see them like how we used to see them.
But we feel the mosquitoes, so that even if we see them or not,
the mosquitoes. So it certainly has been absent.
But I would from us. I would also make a plug to here, OC, to the government, that I believe those aircraft that we have there now are aging aircraft, big time. So the actual cost of maintenance and the frequency of maintenance is likely to be well on the increase. They're subject to corrosion, given the areas where we live in a very moist salt environment. I personally believe it is time for us to replace those aircraft and get them more new state-of-the-art equipment that will allow for more precise distribution of the pellets and spray, whatever it is they have to use. I think it's time for us really to look into that and make sure to again, give you the resilience and the ability to deliver during the time when you most need it.
Yeah, yeah. Opportunity for some closing comments. What's on the agenda next?
That's a big question, OC. But actually, OC, I just wanted to touch on the landfill. We did manage to get some answers, and this is in particular to my Georgetown North constituents. They're making progress. I understand the new compactor is on island.
Okay.
I assume they've set a date for in a couple of weeks' time that it will actually become operative. I'm hoping that they're over-promising and under-delivering under-promising and over-delivering on this, because it shouldn't take 7 weeks to. And I did check with persons in the heavy equipment industry that said unless some parts were left behind and shipped separately, it should not take 7 weeks to get it operational. But at least we have that to look forward to. The concerning thing in the minister's response to me was that their goal is to try and layer and compact once a month if the material is available. I think we can do better than that. The industry standards is every 24 to 48 hours. So even if we could get to once a week, and again, it's rotating. So if they're rotating along, they by the end of a week, they should have, compacted and layered one area, or even every other week. And buy the material now. Don't wait until when the compact is operational to go looking for the material. Buy material, stockpile the material, get a couple of months of material in advance, because I can tell you the cost of that material will be nothing compared to the cost of another major fire. Again. So.
Okay, gentlemen, well, again, thank you very much for being here. Thanks for ceding some of your time. And just very quickly, to the person who spoke about dictatorship, remember the type of system that we have, the ministerial system. You have a premier, and Dr. McPhail has reminded us on more than one occasion that the premier is the first amongst equals. So while they're equal, the premier is first. He's the paramount person, as well. And also in the future, rather than using the word lie, we may want to use, being economic with the truth or something like that, be a little bit more, politically correct rather than, labeling any individual as a liar as well. So folks, have a great day. Join Sterling, Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery. Inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy. Taking care of your health. And JN Money. From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Visit energy.gov.ky or follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram. And by the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Visit gov.ky/steps to learn more.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman. We've got you covered.